What are the pressures of being compliant in estate agents and letting agency? Talk to me, Rhys.
Substantial. So quite a few things going on the last year and a half. It's like acronymitis. So AML, Money Laundering, fourth directive, came into force last year with no transition period. That was that, so you had to be compliant quite quickly. Zoning in on that for now. So say you and I were estate agents, by law, one of us has to be the money laundering officer.
Yep. That sounds like a job for the...
It's the last thing you want. As a talented salesman, excellent with customers, it's the last thing you want. I can imagine people drawing straws. But anyway, assuming I'm that person, the framework I now have to put in place to make myself as compliant in the eyes of HMRC is never ending. It's not a one-time hit. It's a substantial framework that contains policies, procedures, risk assessments, staff training to govern, show good governance. So that's a real challenge. Right to rent as legislation. Given the sales market is shrinking and lettings market is growing, that's coming to the fore and being challenged. More so a few months ago in the High Court. So if you're running a sales and lettings estate agents, you've got challenges from both of those fronts. GDPR has had too much press, and it was I think everyone got sick of it. But it's, again, in a highly regulated society that the UK is, it's just showing that we respect the data that we hold on individuals. For many businesses that had good practice anyway, there was less stress. For those that didn't have anything, huge stress. Then the other side of things like right to work. So if you have a large estate agent group or even just 5 of you, you have to demonstrate your team have the right to work in the UK. And then the lesser known, based out of Powys, I believe it's Trading Standards, their responsibility is to enforce or observe or monitor Estate Agencies Act 1979. So they're monitoring estate agencies now and starting to issue some warnings and fines on their own right because they have the authority to do so.
What, across the whole of the country?
Yeah, they're picking on websites of estate agents as well for their various lack of policies, the content, false advertising, and really zoning in on it. So every year, no doubt, estate agents have massive challenges, and maybe this year is unprecedented. Maybe it's not. Credas can help some of those, but the challenges that are facing the market are huge.
What do you think estate agents can do to help themselves on that?
I'm no expert in this space, but in terms of the situation I find myself in, where I speak to many estate agents, from CEO, manager, director level to sales negotiator, those that want to make it better seem to do just fine. Is the guys that really bury their head in the sand and think it won't happen to them. So HMRC are fining estate agents at an unprecedented rate.
What sort of money are we talking here?
£12,000 average fine.
12 grand?
Yeah, and that's the average, and we've got evidence of a fine up to 600,000.
Why haven't we heard the names of these firms?
HMRC have threatened to name and shame, but they haven't as yet. I believe they will, and estate agents really need to stop burying their heads in the sand.
Okay, so this is more for money laundering.
Correct.
Now, I know you have a product which we've talked about in a previous video.
Yeah.
That helps agents. Very quickly, what does it do? And please don't turn it into a pitch fest. Please.
No. So by law, estate agencies have to verify the identities of buyers and sellers.
Just a photocopy of a passport, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's not truly compliant. You don't know that the document is a government issued document, all of that. So Credas takes that pain away, but by adding some very good technology to increase customer experience.
Good stuff. What could estate agents do over and above that to help themselves?
Just make sure you've appointed a money laundering officer. Make sure you're registered with the HMRC. Just make sure you're doing all you can to be compliant. You don't have to go to town on it.
Where can they find information on this?
It's readily available. Well, we have plenty of content, of course, as we would.
Where's that, on your website?
On our website.
On what section? The blog? Or?
Yeah, there's lots of blog content. It's really important that we help our own clients as well. HMRC aren't the most forthcoming in terms of helping and they tend to issue large legislation-based documents. But it's the content is there somewhere. You just need to go and look.
Put some time aside and have a look.
Put some time aside. Give the right accountability to the right people. Appoint your money laundering officer who's senior enough in the business, and let them put this framework in place. Failing that, you could work with businesses or membership groups like the Guild, who help you with those frameworks. There's help there. You just need to meet people in the middle and acknowledge that you need to do something about it.
And if anyone ever wants to pick the phone up to you and have a chat,
Absolutely, yeah.
The big boss man, happy to chat with him.
The door's always open, as the saying goes. I certainly like a chat, and as a estate agency is one of the sectors that we operate in, it's really important to speak with people to get the feedback, so you know what's going on. I always want to be a business that's solving problems and building great relationships.
Good stuff. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Chris.